Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Jupiter's CROCK here on the Outpost Unknown YouTube channel. My name is Matthew. Joining me today is Ronan.
Yep, I'm here.
And the man whose goal today is to give us every detail of every episode that we binge watched to finish off Gods of the Arena and this past weekend is Steve.
Yeah, if I get anything wrong, I blame Ronan for forcing us to have to do this in chunks now. 100% Ronan's fault.
Very true. We were recording once a week. Ronan has a job and responsibilities, which has forced us to have to
adult shit.
Which has forced us to have to watch a whole bunch in a row so that we can get a head start on the number of episodes. So we will do our best over the next few episodes.
You might notice a theme if you watch anything. There's multiple shows with the three of us involved, and a consistent theme is assigning blame to someone who is fucked up.
Usually it's not even really warranted. It's just a thing that we do to make ourselves feel better.
I feel like more often than not it's warranted. As in the situation we find ourselves in now.
I feel like you're just kind of wrong. You know, how about that?
Well, I blame Ronan for being wrong.
That's what I thought.
Matt, lead us.
Yes, so we are now on episode 3, Paterfamilias. Steve, let's just kick it off. Take us away. What happened in this episode?
This episode goes in a bunch of different directions. So there's going to come a point where I'm going to have to split off into here's what happened with the Romans, and then I'll circle back to what happened with the gladiators, and we'll try to put a pretty bow on it at the end. It opens up with Batiatus presenting Oenomaus and Gannicus to the rest of the gladiators because they've both been promoted in some way or the other. Oenomaus is the new Doctore. Gannicus has been selected to fight in the Primus of these upcoming games, and I assume the Primus is like since everybody's getting into wrestling now, it's like the main event fight, I assume. I don't know that Primus is ever actually like defined within the show, but I interpret it to be the main event. So Oenomaus and Gannicus, or Gannicus is very standoffish towards Oenomaus, and Oenomaus, of course, has no idea what happened at the end of episode 2. He believes that Gannicus dislikes him now because Oenomaus has power over Gannicus when previously they were on equal footing. Little does Oenomaus know he's going to wish that was the case. So
yeah, I do like this. I do like this. This sort of dynamic between the two of them, and I think what this show does really, really well is sort of make different characters like there's a lot of unknown knowledge that has taken place, and everybody's hiding their own little secrets, but they're all like on different levels. They all think one thing, but there's really completely different things hiding under the surface that they don't know about. And one of the parts of the drama of the show is this all going to come out? Like, is Oenomaus going to find out that Gannicus slept with Melita? And then what's going to happen with that? So you have this constant tension throughout this whole thing, and we find out that Gannicus and Melita fell in love.
Yes, we're not there yet, but we're getting there. So after this, the Oenomaus and Gannicus and their new roles have been presented. So at this point, I'm going to talk about what happens on the Roman side of things, and I'll circle back to the gladiators in a little bit. But as far as the Romans go, as far as Batiatus knows, his plans have succeeded. He's stolen the Primus and kind of the games as a whole from Vettius and Tullius. And so you know what that means? Time for another orgy with Xena and Gaia. But unluckily for him, his dad Titus walks in. And so the ladies have to quickly cover up, and Titus basically tells Batiatus
on her boob. He's like literally sucking on her breast as his dad walks in.
I mean, this is probably the most relatable moment in the whole show. Who amongst us hasn't had a coked up, opium-laden threesome and then had their dad walk in on them? I mean, it's
right.
super relatable.
All been there. We've all been there.
We all know what it feels like. Really embarrassing, awkward. Continue, Steve.
All right. So Titus says, basically, you have turned my ludus into shit. Like, I leave to retire. And then good Salonius sends me message that you're hatching all these plots. and schemes. This is bullshit. This is wrong. I've come back to make it right. And so
why did he leave in the first place,
Titus,
Steve? That's important. Why did Titus leave the Ludus in the first place?
he's getting old, and the weather in Capua is not kind to him. So you notice as soon as we're going to learn more about this in future episodes, but as soon as he comes back, like he's constantly like coughing and hacking up a lung, and they're ultimately unsuccessful. Batiatus and Xena are trying to say, hey, weather's not being kind to you. Maybe you should go back. And of course, that doesn't happen. But yeah, he is not in the best of health.
If you pay attention to it, the coughing and stuff actually doesn't start until a little bit later on to the episode, which, kind of spoilers for a few more episodes down. It was a thought out thing. They knew they were going to do A with B later on. So it doesn't technically start the minute he gets there. It starts a little bit later on.
There's a specific scene which is foreshadowing, and you might not catch that it's foreshadowing until like a repeat viewing, but we'll get there. His health is the primary reason he left, and Batiatus's first instinct is, let's just show him that we're all capable of running this Ludus, tell him, convince him that things are in good hands, and then he will leave. Spoilers, he does not leave. Titus, using the knowledge that he got from good Salonius, says, hey, we're going to go find Tullius, we're going to go find Vedius, and we're going to make amends. We're going to clean up this shit that Batiatus has got us in. So they leave to go meet with Vedius and Tullius. I don't think Batiatus actually knew that at the time, but he is not happy when he runs into those two. Meanwhile, Gaia and Xena are out running about, and they're doing their own thing back at the Ludus, and suddenly Varys shows up. Varys, who I still swear is a time traveling young Bruce Campbell, he shows up with Cosudius, and Cosudius, I don't know what the ancient Roman equivalent of a windowless van is, but this motherfucker drives one. He is like the skeeziest looking. Like I hope that the Spartacus like makeup and costuming department had to put a shitload of work into him, because if not, and he looks like this all the time, that is fucking unfortunate.
They did a great job
casting creeper.
They did a great job casting the Romans in this, man. They all just look skeezy to me. Just they have that look to them. That you're like, oh god, they're gonna.
Matt, like, if you wanted to, like, you can tell a bad Roman when you see one in this show. Like the first time they were on screen. Matt, you are a director. What would your casting call be like if you needed to cast Cosudius?
High cheekbones, narrow Weasley eyes, and like a pointy chin. that's what I would say.
Yeah, Cosudius is problematic, but Cosudius, through Varys, has heard of the pleasures of House Batiatus, and Xena and Gaia thought offering up their slaves and gladiators for sex shows was going to be a one-time thing to gain the favor of Varys, but nope. Varys has started telling other powerful, influential Romans about this, and so it's going to be a thing for the rest of Gods of the Arena. So Xena is trying to protect Melita, so she's like, okay, well, you can't use the girl from last time, but I will offer you to any one of my virgin slaves that I have back here, and the two virgin slaves are Navia, who's going to become a bigger player in the show in the next couple seasons, and then Diona. And if you've watched the rest of the series, you might notice that Diona isn't in the rest of the series. So,
that tells you everything you need to know.
Poor Diona.
Cosudius picks Diona for reasons that I am not actually going to explain on this series. Go watch the show. And so Cosudius gives Diona to, is it Rascos, or it looks like maybe it was Rascos, but he gives her to a gladiator. This disgusting dirt and shit covered gladiator, like fresh in from his training, has not had a bath or anything yet, and so he makes this dirty, filthy gladiator have sex with Diona, who again is a virgin. And as the sex is happening, Custodius is like, "Do you know, I picked this shit-covered gladiator on purpose to show you just how fucking terrible the world could be. Like he's just piling on and piling on and piling on, and I want to move away from this scene." Diona does not have a good time. She does not
Well,
have a good time for the rest of this series.
well, the important thing to note about this is for the previous couple episodes, they have set up Diona, right? But she's really looking forward to having sex the first time. Even what's her face? Xena's friend. She's just like
Gaia.
Gaia, yeah. She's like, oh yeah, it's gonna be great. It's so pleasurable. It's so amazing. Like, she's getting her all hyped up for this. And then this is what happens, and you're like, oh God.
Yep. Yep.
Depraved Romans.
It
Well, she
is
also gets her
fucking
hyped up
rough.
for it in the most problematic of creepy ways possible. Like the whole time she's talking to her, you kind of get the sense that like that this character was intended to be cast and played as like a 15-year-old child in the shower, sort of.
Oh God, we're back to that again. Damn it!
You can't get away from. But that is sort of the vibe that you get. They weren't going to actually cast a kid, but these were probably supposed to be kids.
Oh yeah, in ancient Rome, age didn't matter, so that was a thing that went on in ancient Rome quite frequently. So yeah, you're 100% right, but they're not going to make it a 15-year-old.
No,
Yes.
no, you can't.
Thank you for taking some liberties with the story, creators of Spartacus Gods of the
Thank you
Arena.
for not being Velma.
A
Anyways,
reference that will age wonderfully.
moving on from that scene, Diona has just been given to a gladiator for the pleasure of Cosudius. So Varus and Cosudius, I didn't mention previously, Varus is like, hey, kind of hinted to Xena, hey, if you withdraw the pleasures of House Batiatus now, I might have to rescind my offer of having Gannicus in the game. So Xena is basically being blackmailed into complying with this. Anyways, so that's over. So let's go back to Batiatus and Titus and Tullius and Vedius. And uh, Titus has come back to Titus and Batiatus are completely different, and it's relevant now, but you'll see this more throughout the rest of the series. Titus, for lack of a better term, he knows his place. Like he is a Lanista. That's all he ever wanted to be. That's all he ever wanted Batiatus to be. He understands that his hierarchy, his place in the Roman hierarchy, is not high. He's got to do like some bootlicking with the higher powered and richer Roman folks, and he's happy to do that because again, he's fine just being a Lanista, whereas Batiatus always had his heights set higher. And so Titus comes back to set things right, to repair the relationship with Vedius and Tullius. And as the result of their meeting is Gannicus will no longer be in the Primus whatsoever. But as just kind of like an olive branch to House Batiatus, some of Batiatus's like lesser men will fight like early on in the games, and Titus is like, hey, Batiatus is not happy about this, and he runs into Salonius and starts shitting on
Good
Salonius
Salonius.
because good
Yes.
Salonius starts shitting on good Salonius because good Salonius kind of outed everything that happened to Titus. Anyway,
And try to
so
help Batiatus.
yes, at
That's the
this
thing. Like,
point,
good
good
Salonius is not an
Salonius is
asshole
still
yet.
trying to help.
No,
He's not an asshole yet.
Yeah, it's important to note snitches always get stitches. And he went and snitched, so later on there will be stitches.
Yeah, stitches do not occur anytime soon, though. So the friendship between Batiatus and Good Salonius is starting to fray, like already just like 3 episodes into the show. Titus or Batiatus is not happy with the deal that his dad has made, but there's nothing he can do about it because now that Titus is back, Titus is in charge. So Gannicus out of the Primus, 4 other lesser gladiators will fight early on in the day. So that's what's going on with the Romans at this point. Let's back up to the gladiators. It is very clear already that Gannicus is having some strong feelings towards Melita. He can't get Melita out of his head. He's like constantly like staring at her and approaching her, and it's getting in the way of everything else he has to do. The gladiators are in training. They find out that hey, plans have changed. Uh, others of you are going to fight now, and so the gladiators got to train. And Crixus is being paired with Barca. Barca uses a spear. Crixus has never fought anyone with a spear, so he gets his ass kicked by Barca, and Crixus gives him like a talking to, like kind of it starts kind of mentoring Crixus to an extent.
Gannicus gives him a talking to.
Who did I say? I meant Gannicus.
Yeah, you said Crixus spoke to Crixus.
Okay, well, I was interpreting his internal dialogue, but no, yes, Gannicus starts mentoring Crixus, for lack of a better term. Uh, Meanwhile, people continue to treat Asher and Dagon like shit. Barca is going to be kind of a bigger player in season one. He doesn't really do a whole lot in Gods of the Arena, and his partner is Octus, and Octus does even less than Barca in this prequel series. But they are Barca and Octus, like their only like character trait in this prequel series is they fuck with the new recruits. They keep pissing in the food of Asher and Dagon and Crixus and whoever the other guy was that I think died last episode. So this is like the only time like Asher really gets one up on someone and kind of like wins the argument or in the series. Octus and Barca keep pet pigeons, and because Asher and Dagon keep getting their food pissed in, they go and eat the fucking pigeons.
That is awesome.
That is so awesome. But that triggers like a big fight. The gladiators are like rioting. Doctore comes out to try to stop them, and no one's listening. Then Titus says, "Hey, knock it off!" And so it sets up that at the moment, Onomaus as Doctore has no fucking respect whatsoever among the gladiators.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot when I was a supervisor for a brief period of time of people who were on my own, like my own units. Like you don't have any respect for the person. Like you just view them as another colleague, right? You don't.
Yep.
You don't view them as someone who can tell you what to do, and that's one of the things that Onomaus is worried that Gannicus is feeling. Like he's got to be able to tell these guys what to do. He's going to have to whip his friends. He's going to have to, potentially kill some of these people who are getting out of line, but none of them see him that way.
Yep. So I think so we've set up the Romans, we've set up the gladiators. Let's like start tying this back together. It's time for the actual games. And so Barca, Octus, Gnaeus, and Crixus are chosen for the games, and they're going to fight each other. So it's the House of Batiatus versus the House of Batiatus, and Gnaeus is a character who is in season one, but I had completely fucking forgot about him. I had to look up who this was, and I was like, "Oh, it's that piece of shit," which is probably gonna that train of thought's probably going to happen frequently throughout the rest of the series. Barca is a spear user. Gnaeus just has the typical sword and shield, and Barca destroys him. Like there's no he had no chance. Gnaeus sucks with the sword and shield, which will become relevant in the future. Then Crixus fights Octus, and this becomes like kind of a battle between Titus and Batiatus because Octus was trained when the Ludus was being run by Titus, and Titus considers Octus to be like one of his best men. And then Crixus was purchased by Batiatus, and even though he doesn't have the mark of the Brotherhood yet, he's shown a lot of promise, and so this is a battle to see who is right, who is the best gladiator, who is the best trained gladiator among someone trained by Titus and someone trained under Batiatus. Crixus fights Octus, and using the mentoring of Gannicus, who told him, "Hey, take the spear away," and the guy can't fight, which that doesn't sound like world-shattering advice. Like, hey, if you take a weapon away from someone, they're less dangerous to you. But Crixus is like, holy shit, I didn't know it was possible for someone to drop a spear once they picked it up. Crixus ends up winning the fight and killing Octus. And there's this moment where Octus and Barca like share this like final loving glance as Octus is dying. Even when Octus is being stabbed through the chest with Crixus or by Crixus, Octus like in his dying moments like shows respect and tells Crixus, Barca has trained you well. Batiatus has won the bet. Batiatus's gladiator beat Titus's gladiator, which was really surprising to Titus because Titus considered Octus like one of the best within the Ludus. So at this point, that's the end of Batiatus's men in the games. So we go back to the Ludus, and Batiatus thinks like he's won. All right, I've shown my father that I know what I'm doing here. So he's going to go back. He's going to leave because I've proven myself. And then Titus says, "Oh no, like I forgot how much I missed this. I'm going to stick around." Batiatus is very unhappy with this, and that's where I believe the show ends.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah, what I like about this episode is this is the first episode where obviously Crixus is my favorite character. So this is the first episode where you really start to see him turning into the classic Crixus personality type, where he kind of realizes I'm actually good at this and I can do this. He's making that transition,
Yes.
which is really really cool. The other thing that I'll mention is the title's Paterfamilias, which is related to Titus, because in ancient Roman society like this, the fathers had control of everything. So Batiatus, you just sort of find out he's been running things while his dad's been gone, but he doesn't actually have any power to do anything. Unless Titus dies, then he would be the next. He would be the son that takes over everything, and you sort of get the idea here also that that Titus really does not like Lucretia, aka
Oh
Xena.
no.
Does not like her at all. Really feels that Batiatus married beneath his sort of station. We don't get a whole lot yet as to why Titus sort of maybe doesn't like Lucretia all that much until some later episodes here, but this really starts here as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Speaking of Lucretia slash Xena, just in case anyone's confused who we're talking about, uh, Ronan mentioned earlier about how Titus's cough doesn't start until till later on. There is a scene where Xena offers Titus Mulson, honeyed wine. I don't know the official name of it, but honeyed wine.
That's what they keep
Uh,
calling it. So
he
yeah.
gets Titus gets offered this honeyed wine over and over and over and over, etc. Again. Uh, and then Batias is like, "Oh, I'll have some too." And Xena's like, "No, no, no. It doesn't treat you right this time of day. How about you not touch the honeyed wine?" And while Batiatus at this point has no idea what's going on, we learn later on that Xena has been trying to not kill Titus, but trying to make his health issues worse in order to force him to leave.
Yeah, and it's cool. Like it shows that the writers of this show had this sort of all planned out, right? Because if you weren't exactly sure where this was going, like sometimes when you start a show like this, you start writing, you write the pilot episode, and as you're writing, things may change and shift. But they knew what they were doing from the beginning. Like, okay, this is how it's going to end. Since we know this is where what Lucretia is going to do, sort of ends. Let's add some little things throughout these other episodes that will become obvious. So upon a rewatch, like, oh God, I missed it. Right? I love that kind of storytelling when, unlike Star Wars, you have a plan. You know where you're going, and so you can add that kind of stuff in there. Very very cool. I will say that this episode is probably, for all the wrong reasons, is the one that stands out most in my mind from Gods of the Arena before this sort of rewatch here, just because that Diona scene. That Diona scene is so fucked up in so many ways that it just sort of is like seared into my memory, almost to the point where it's kind of like I can't believe they went this far with it, because I mean, I don't know. I don't know how you guys felt watching that, but it's very disturbing. It's
It's
very,
rough.
very creepy.
It's very rough to get through.
Yeah. And there's like close-ups of, her just crying. She's just like, I mean, and you're just imagining what could it's two dudes doing the things that you would expect them to be doing to this poor girl, and it's memorable in all the wrong ways. But again, one of the things about this show is they're not afraid to sort of go there. They're not afraid to show the most heinous acts and really make the villains villainy, which I enjoy. Like you got to see the villains do something really really bad to really want them like their comeuppance. As we'll see with Batiatus, you mentioned on a previous episode how we still love Batiatus. We know what he's going to end up doing, and we know all this underlying stuff. But just like God, I can't help but love him. But the Romans, fuck all of them. I don't think there's a single Roman in this show that is portrayed positively.
I will give a slight argument to that. I think Titus is pretty much the only Roman that you could view in a relatively positive light. You know, he's not like cruel. He's not a cruel asshole to the slaves, like the servants in the house. He greets them like with warm respect and smiles. Now, bear in mind, you know, if push came to shove, you know, like as is shown in the later episode, if one of them does get hurt and has to be tossed aside, he's like, oh well, you know, that's unfortunate. So, while he's nice to them, he still doesn't really view most of them as people, with the exception of perhaps some of the gladiators.
Well, he's going to send all the gladiators to the mines that don't perform well enough.
It feels very weird watching the show, and it feels very weird to say this, but like, I guess like Titus treats the slaves as well as you could expect one to be treated. Like when Titus returns in this episode, like all of the gladiators and slaves that were there like under his like rule of the ludus, like they happily greet him. They're like excited to see him and have him back. I mean, is it brainwashing, or is this just the way things worked? I don't know, but it's very strange. Like there are certain characters in the show, like even Crixus is like, I don't give a fuck about freedom. Like, this is what I want to do. Like, some of the slaves almost seem happy to be in this situation as long as their dominus is not a dickbag.
Yeah, it's like, you know, he is the best case scenario that you could get given the circumstances. You know, if you were a slave, like that's the guy you would at the very least want to say, "I'll buy him for I'll buy him for like 5 nickels or whatever currency they use." It's like just because at the very least, you know, he's not gonna offer your ass up to the other Romans. He's like he's got that going for him at the very least. As far as like, you know, within like this particular the prequel show, he's probably the only decent Roman that I can think of.
Yeah,
and he's like playing by the rules of Roman society. Like you can argue, you could easily argue that everything Titus was trying to do is correct. Like, he knew his place. He knew where Lenistas stand in the hierarchy. He was trying to put things right according to the way the world worked at this time in that part of the world.
Yeah, and I think what's also interesting is this idea of how we in our mind view slavery, right? Because obviously slavery is horrible. It's absolutely awful. But how it's portrayed in this show, specifically with the gladiators, because Diona's sort of like one of those characters that's portrayed like, I want to get out of here. I don't know how to get out of here. And Navia eventually, you know, spoiler, does try to help her escape. But the gladiators themselves, like, as long as you're doing well as a gladiator, you can't come and go as you please. You're stuck there in the ludus, but they get all the women they want, they get all the wine they want, they get all of this sort of like creature comforts, so to speak, and their goal is like glory. They just want fame and glory. They're kind of like, you know, rock stars that are under house arrest. That's kind of like how it's portrayed.
They were the
a little
football players of their day. I've seen some historical stuff on, and it varies because I've seen some stuff, especially like that says like, you know, gladiators, like the good ones, they actually were given the freedom to leave the ludus and come back, and like they because they were worth so much money to the dominus, like to the lunista, so they were given freedoms like the ability to take a wife and stuff. But I've also read some other stuff that's like, oh no, they couldn't. So I'm not even sure if the jury's completely out on that.
I think it depends on how good of a gladiator you were. Like, right? Yeah. So like Michael Jordan has different rules that he plays by than, you know, some scrub on the bench, right? You
get busted for gambling. You go play baseball for a couple years.
Yeah. Dennis Rodman in the playoffs, he can go to Las Vegas for a weekend where other players can't sort of do that stuff. I do know historically that they used to use gladiator sweat as like an aphrodisiac for like Roman women and stuff. Like these were the
it did not work for Diona.
Oh, no, it did not. But my main point that I want to get to is this idea of slavery and how when we get to Blood and Sand, it's Spartacus that is basically has to convince all of these dudes, look, you guys are idiots. Like, freedom is the way that you're not free here. Look at all this other stuff we could be doing, but we are stuck getting whipped, getting beaten, our food pissed in, when we don't do well, etc., etc. And I think that really sets up the Spartacus character later on for being way more unique than all the other
Yeah.
gladiators,
Many of the
especially when it comes to
slaves,
Crixus.
yep, many of the gladiators are perfectly content, it seems, saying, "This is the best that my life is going to get. I'm gonna preserve this. I'm gonna try
Yep.
to be the best gladiator I can be, because this is all I know." Like, it's weird to see these slaves happy in their situation, but that
Yeah.
is something that the prequel series and the first season of Spartacus present to us over and over and over again.
Well, they have the ability is there for them, like presumably, like they can earn enough to buy freedom, and like Roman slavery was different from like let's say like American slavery was, whereas like if slaves in like America, there was no getting out. Like you couldn't just save up enough like money to buy your freedom back, whereas the Romans you could, like a gladiator could earn up enough money to pay off like his owner to leave. Like, a
And like
servant could pay.
indentured servitude sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. A servant could pay enough to leave. And Roman society was also kind of like cool with that. We're like, oh, well, you used to be a slave, but you clawed your way out of it. And now you've made something out of your life. Which is not like to say that they were still good people. It's just slavery was like like slavery was different in Roman era as it was in, various other places in the world.
Let's argue over what society had the most meritorious slavery system.
But it's also interesting, Ronan, that you sort of bring that up in terms of like the mentality of sort of slavery in that time. A lot of these gladiators at this ludus, um, they don't even question the fact that they are a slave. Like, there's multiple points when Batiatus is like, "You're just a slave, dude." Like what he told Boba Fett, like last episode. He's like, "You're just a slave," and they just sort of accept that. They just realize, "Yep, my station in this life is way lower than yours." Any one of these gladiators, when they're one on one with Batiatus, could immediately kill him. Just immediately murder him. There's a couple guards around, but it's like, come on, these are badass gladiators who are trained to fight every single day. They could immediately run roughshod over this entire ludus, which we see that Spartacus convinces them to do. But just the mentality that a lot of these gladiators have of, okay, yep, I'll just take it. I'll just do whatever I'm told to do because that's just my lot in life. That's what makes this character Spartacus so great. I think going forward is he's the one. He was a free man who became a slave, and so he sort of like realizes, no, 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 this is not the way we're going to go here. And it takes quite a while. It takes a whole season to change that mentality.
Yeah.
And to your point, Steve, it's not just slaves that do this. One of your favorite characters coming up was a free man who chose to do this to earn
Yep.
money. So it's not just slaves that become gladiators.
Which is going to be like, weird when we get to that season, because it's like he sold himself into the situation to earn money, and then allows himself to be killed, which seems counterintuitive. But we'll get there in like 8 to 9 episodes of this.
So what did you guys think overall of this episode? I think we said episode 2 was the first great episode chronologically of Spartacus. How'd you guys feel about Paterfamilias?
I don't know how to rate it, 'cause like I think basically, aside from some early season 1 episodes, they all seem to range from good to great. I don't think this was as good as episode 2, but it's still pretty fucking good.
Ronan?
Yep, yeah. Like this is like because Titus was one of my favorite characters, and this is the introduction of him. Like so, like as we mentioned, he's a different he's a different form of Roman, so that sets him apart, makes him different, makes the episodes more interesting, and it also gives Batiatus a foil because up until this point, by episode 2, he had more or less won, and so like you have to do something to re up
Maybe
the stake.
Titus is the true villain of the series.
Well, you also
Maybe,
we also talked about how much we love Batiatus and all this, but it's because we feel bad for him, right? Like all this bad stuff happens to him. We feel bad for this horrible, evil character. And then his dad comes in, who's ostensibly the quote unquote good character representation of, like, slavery aside, he's the he's the good character. And we're just like, man, I want Batiatus to like get over on this dude somehow. Like I hate Titus. The show makes me hate Titus because he's not allowing Batiatus to flourish, who's a bad guy who I want to flourish. It's good writing. It really is.
I mean, I would disagree with that only because I have the benefit of knowing where Batiatus becomes, and what Titus was trying to do was stop that. It's like maybe deep down inside he knew, like he has the line. I think it's in this episode, or maybe it's in another one where he's in the games and they're watching the gladiators fight, and he's just sort of chatting with Batiatus. And like Batiatus makes the comment about how, well, we should be watching it up there with them, and he's like, well, you breached, like you went beyond your station and you fucked around. More or less what he's telling him is like, this is like when you fuck around with people higher than you, bad shit happens, which almost
fucked around and found out.
Yeah, which does kind of make me like that put into my mind when I was watching it today. I was like yesterday, I was like, I wonder if maybe there's a prequel version of him who made an attempt at what Batiatus did, maybe did some scheming. It went badly, and it taught him he learned the lesson of don't ever plan against the high class. Don't do it. Don't do it. Just be happy.
That is a good point. Like, did Batiatus at the end of episode season 2 or at the end of episode 2 and the beginning of this current episode, he thought he had won. Did he really not expect any comeuppance from Tullius or Vettius? Like, they might not be able to prove that Batiatus was behind this scheme. Do you think they fucking care about whether or not they had proof of that? Like, Batiatus maybe wasn't the forward thinker that we were building him up to be in his schemes. Because he seems to think, I won, it's over.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if it's this episode, because I binge watched all 4 of these in a row. But there's at some point, we learn that Batiatus didn't even want to run a ludus. Like, that wasn't even his goal in life. That wasn't what he wanted. Because his dad, Titus, even says, like, I know you wanted other things. Like, you did not want this to be your life. Because Batiatus, this whole thing, he wants to elevate in society. He is sick and tired and not satisfied with being a simple ludus, right? He wants the fame, the glory. He wants to be accepted by Roman society and not the elites of that society, which is why he goes through so many machinations to try to please these people, right? To try to please these awful, horrible people. And again, we come to find out later on, I won't spoil it, kind of where Lucretia came from a little bit. And I think that they want more than what lot they have in life. But because he has this ludus, he feels this is the only way that he can make it to that upper echelon of Roman society. He's got to use this ludus and the gladiators and the fame and glory that comes along with it to ingratiate himself with upper Roman society. Yep. That's how I saw it anyway.
Let's wrap this up. This is getting long. I think we're all pretty happy with this episode. Maybe not as good as episode 2, but still another damn good episode of Gods of the Arena.
Agreed.
Yep.
So now, stay tuned next week, folks, as we get to episode 4, which is titled Beneath the Mask. And the next couple episodes coming up, we're getting in the real shit now. The real shit. So stay tuned for that, and we will see you then.